And then the NCAA made you do all these heart screenings prior to coming back, whether it was an EKG, ultrasound in your heart to make sure you didn't have, any implications from COVID. So they end up finding out from an EKG that I had this thing called Wolff Parkinson White syndrome. Nothing to do with COVID. I had it since birth, but it just meant I had an erratic heartbeat. So my heart beat, really fast. Did some tests, my heartbeat got up to like 269 beats per minute. So I had to go into surgery.
All right, this episode of 30 Day Challenge podcast is with Max Duggan, quarterback or former quarterback for TCU's Cinderella story of a season, the national championship campaign, Davey O'Brien Award winner, Heisman finalist, second team All-American. Most importantly, just an awesome dude and someone that I'm proud to call my friend. Thank you for coming on today, Max.
Yes, sir. Yeah, appreciate you having me on, man.
Absolutely. I remember before last season, we were in Fuzzy's Taco, getting a couple margs, kind of talking about what the season was going to look like. Did you have any idea of what the season was going to turn into this year?
No, man. Like, if you would have told me at that moment, I'd be like, dude, you're lying. Like, wouldn't have believed it. I mean, it's crazy how much stuff can change in just a year. I mean, it's the different events, situations. I mean, your life can change pretty quickly, but, it's a grateful position to be in.
Absolutely, man. From the craziness of this season and being able to watch that on TV and just follow every game, we were like, is this real? Like what the hell is going on? What was your proudest moment of the 2022-2023 season?
Man, yeah. I mean, there was times where we were like, what is going on? I mean, for the last couple of years, it's like we had been so bad, and it's like all this stuff's happening. It's like things are going our way. I mean, the feeling in the locker room after the Michigan game this year, Fiesta Bowl, I mean, or even on the field getting to celebrate with our fans and TCU and our community, I mean, that was a pretty special moment. Like a lot of pride amongst our guys and our university, and that was pretty special. That was a spot I won't ever forget.
Yeah, dude. I was at that game, and just watching when you broke off those two runs, just wheezing, dude. Like it was a proud moment. I was proud to be a fan. I was proud to be there and to experience just that incredible season. What do you think? Like, how did it turn around so quickly? Like, what do you think? Was it coaching? Was it, a multitude of things? Like, how do you think we go from, not making a bowl to having, one of the best seasons in college history? I
mean, yeah, you got to give a lot of credit to obviously the guys on the team. I mean, the guys that stuck around, and you can give credit to both, our old staff with Coach Patterson and the new staff with Coach Dykes, because I mean, they both did so much for us. But I think it gets to the point sometimes it's like when you're a little kid and your parents are continually yelling at you or doing something like that, and it's like you don't really listen, and then someone else tells you it and it clicks. It's just like hearing someone in a different voice tell you something. I think that's what happened this year. It was just hearing a different voice, something, changed to allow, our guys to kind of, get over that hump. I mean, and it was fun. Guys put in the work. I mean, showed up every day. We're disciplined. There was change that needed, and I think that's where you give a lot of credit to Coach Dykes' staff. But I mean, guys just believed. They stayed together, and I think that was why, we were able to have success.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And yeah, I think the TCU football fan in me wants to talk about football the whole time. But obviously, the mission of the 30-Day Challenge, and you've always been a supporter since literally day one. And I appreciate you so much for that, man. Interested to know what vulnerability means to you, and I think it's a lot of people on this podcast are, older people, right? Who, as we were just talking about before, like have a lot of wisdom. You and I are two young guys who have experienced a lot of different obstacles in life. So I'm curious to know what vulnerability means to you.
Yeah, I think when I think about vulnerability, it's being open to your emotions, to your feelings, of not being scared of keeping them in. I think that really shows. I think in today's age, whether it's whatever it is, it was kind of seen upon of keeping your feelings in, don't share it. Showing emotion is not good as a man. And I think now when you see people be vulnerable, show their emotions and care about something, I think that shows, like, that's courage right there. And I think that's what more people are starting to do. I think it's really showing people that it's okay to care about something. It's okay to go through something. If you're dealing with something, to talk about it. And I think more people are starting to see that and become vulnerable and talk to people about it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I think, you know, really have always respected you as a person, and watching you just have this incredible year this year as a player. Obviously, the respect grew. And then I think when I was most proud of you, and when my respect for you was at an all-time high, was after the Kansas State loss, right? When you showed that emotion, right? When you were, I mean, rightfully so, right? You were teary-eyed, and you could just feel the weight on your shoulders, right? And dude, I remember looking at that and also getting emotional. And like, I think it's times like that, right, when people can be vulnerable and, like you said, express their emotions and how they're feeling. That's when you gain the most respect, right? That's when you can help the most people. What was going through your head after that loss and during that interview?
Yeah, I think just in my situation, my life, like, football is a really big deal. It's what I do. Obviously there's other things, but that's an important deal in my life. So you spend a lot of time, a lot of commitment in it. And I think when you get to that situation, and whatever you do, whatever industry, hobby, whatever it is, when you get so close to success, all the work you've done, and then you don't get in, you fail, a lot of the emotion comes out of, you let the people down that you're with, the people that were proud of you, that supported you, you let them down, you let yourself down. I think that's what really came out. But yeah, I wasn't worried about trying to keep it in at that moment. I thought that was good, just to let it out of how I felt. And I think it helped people see, there's other people that did it, that have shown emotions in press conferences and podcasts, things of that sort. But to care about something, that's okay. I mean, it kind of got to the point in the world where it was cool not to care about things. It was cool not to share things or be too tough or manly. But I think showing those emotions was good for people to see.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think you've grown a lot as a leader. I'm sure you have throughout the 4 years at TCU, and just seeing how these guys have your back and the respect that they've had for you. What are some of the most important lessons that you've learned from leadership?
I think you learn a lot from people, whether it's in sports, whether it's in business, whether it's people in the service that are true leaders, and when things matter, is of caring about people in your squad, in your group, more than yourself. Servant leadership, giving service to others, making sure other people, are getting taken care of, that their life and their situation is going to be better, and sacrificing maybe something that you're going through, or, maybe is not best for you in the situation, but sacrificing yourself for the better of those others. And I think that's what I really learned from people in my situation, of putting the other guys before me, whether it's players, coaching staff, university, not worrying about myself. And I think that was the biggest lesson I took from, a bunch of great leaders in different industries.
Absolutely. Given your definition of vulnerability and the lessons you've learned as being a leader, how would you kind of put vulnerability into the importance when you're leading?
Yeah, I think understanding of vulnerability in leadership, it's like I kind of said, of thinking of those others, of putting yourself kind of in the back seat. And I think you see the greats do it, whether it's people in service, things of that sort, of they're going to make sure the other ones are protected. They're going to make sure, families are okay. But being open to, your feelings and the thoughts that are going through your mind, whether it's good, whether it's bad, or the situations that may be the outcome, I think is being okay in that situation, because it's better for the others that you're in charge of, that you're leading in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think being vulnerable, a part of it is allowing other people to know that, right? Allowing other people to say, "Hey, I do care for you." Like, "Hey, let's have difficult conversations," right? Let's see. I think you have to embrace vulnerability to be a true leader, right? Because you have to call people out on things that might not be most beneficial for the team or for the squad or for the overall good. I'm sure you've had to do that multiple times, and then you have to look at yourself too. What are ways that I can improve, right? And if you can't embrace and embrace your weaknesses, embrace the weaknesses of the team, right? Be vulnerable and call those things out, then you can't be the best leader that you can be. And I'm sure you've seen that a lot in your leadership career.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point, because I think as a leader, people want to respect you and look at you the right way, but I mean you got to understand that you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everyone's going through something. Everyone's fighting their own demons, and I think being vulnerable up to something that you may need to work on, or having those tough conversations, like you said, with somebody, having a conversation with someone that doesn't want to have that conversation, but it's in their best benefit to have those conversations, to talk to them, to dig a little bit deeper, to not let things pass by, and it's going to be good for both parties in the end. And I think that's a big reason of being vulnerable, like you said, in those moments.
Absolutely. And I think you've had your fair share of adversity, battled your fair share of demons, from Wolff Parkinson White syndrome. First of all, can you explain that situation? I'm not even entirely sure what that is, or kind of how all that went down.
Yeah, so it was during COVID 2020. We were trying to play football. The NCAA was trying to play football. So throughout that season, or going into preseason, it was probably beginning of August, I tested positive for COVID, and then the NCAA made you do all these heart screenings prior to coming back. Whether it was an EKG, ultrasound in your heart, to make sure you didn't have any implications from COVID. So they end up finding out from an EKG that I had this thing called Wolff Parkinson White syndrome. Nothing to do with COVID. I had it since birth, but it just meant I had an erratic heartbeat. So my heart beat, really fast. Did some tests. My heartbeat got up to like 269 beats per minute. So I had to go into surgery in ablation to go fix it. Was awake for a 9-hour procedure while they went in and essentially burned this pathway, or closed it so blood wouldn't pump through it. Was a successful procedure. 2 days later, have a blood clot because of the surgery. Go into emergency surgery. Was able to be all healthy and clean now, no worries. But it was a scary moment, during that time.
Yeah, dude. So did you did that ever affect you growing up playing sports? Like, was there ever times where you're like, shit, like my heart's beating really fast right now, or just like kind of came out of the blue?
Yeah, that was the thing, like talking to other cardiologists, that there should have been symptoms, whether it's, you felt like lightheaded, you'd faint when you're working out, heartbeat really fast. And I never felt them though. So that's why it was super weird when they're like, how have you never had a symptom? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I did. And I just got to the point where I thought it was normal, but no issues now. But it was just kind of a scary moment.
Yeah, dude, I'm sure. What was going through your mind in terms of fear, kind of as you were going through that surgery and just the news?
I mean, so I go and I'm in Fort Worth. I'm 19 at the time, and I go into the doctor's office, the cardiologist. He does all the tests. I'm sitting there by myself thinking it's just like a checkup, just some basic stuff. Doctor walks in. Hey, can you call your parents on FaceTime right now? I want to talk to them. My heart dropped. I was like, okay. Parents are 1,000 miles away. I'm 19. They're talking about my heart. Why are we talking to my parents? I mean, it was a scary moment. A lot of bad thoughts rolled through your head at that time. It's just like, okay, is this going to affect me tomorrow? Is this going to affect me when I'm older? Is this everything going to get taken away? Luckily, get some questions answered, and, it was all turned out fine. But a lot of bad thoughts start rolling in your head at that time.
Yeah, man, I'm sure. I can't imagine And so you had that instance. You've had walk us through kind of your junior year season and when you were playing with a broken foot. 'Cause I don't think a lot of people even knew that you were playing injured.
Yeah, so junior year, 21 season, I ended up breaking my foot like the fourth game of the year. So I break a bone and tear a tendon and decide just to play on it the rest of the year because it couldn't get worse. It was just pain tolerance at that time. So I'm getting it shot up before every single game. I can't practice. I'm going to class and I don't want to get put in a walking boot because I don't want people to know that I'm hurt. But I mean, it was tough too because college football is a performance industry and it's obviously it's not different. People can say it's sports, whatever. Performance industry. So my mood is dependent, or how I saw myself was dependent on how I played or how we played on Saturdays. If we played good on Saturdays, my confidence was high. I felt good about myself, things of that sort. If we played bad on Saturdays, I mean, it was tough. Like I did not want to be around anybody, didn't want to go outside, didn't want to see people. So junior year playing on a broken foot, I didn't feel like I couldn't play as what I was capable to of helping our team win. We weren't very good that year. So it was every week, we're losing, you're dealing with this injury, and then you're dealing with all the bad thoughts that are going through your head because there's millions of people watching on TV. Social media is coming at you, and you can't look at it. But I mean, you get some bad stuff said about you, and it's hard to not, if you look at it enough, and I try my best not to, but you start to believe it. You start to believe about the things that they say about you. Some of them not very good. Doubt, self-doubt starts coming in, and it's just dealing with that situation. But I mean, it was tough though. I mean, we were able to get through it. A lot of adversity happened that year, but it was a tough year though.
Yeah, man, I can't imagine. And I don't remember, did people know you were hurt, or did you kind of keep that a secret?
Yeah, so I didn't tell anybody. That was the thing of not even going to class in a walking boot. I would just limp to class all day or just not even go because I didn't want people to know I was hurt. I didn't want people to be like, oh, he's soft. It was all those things of like, oh, what are people going to think? Which is like not good to have. That's not how you're supposed to live. But in that moment, that's how I was like, what are people going to think about me? But I just didn't want people to know, and I just kept it a secret.
Mm. So, you talk about some of these dark thoughts and, not wanting to leave your house, right? Not wanting to see other people. What did those dark moments look like? Like, what were some of those thoughts that you were having?
I mean, whether it's right after the game or maybe leading up to a game after a loss, I mean, it's just a lot of anxiety coming in at you of just all the bad things that happen. And I think that's what's tough. And I think that's what a lot of people in whatever industry it is with the mental health and with the mental part of life of getting out of those bad thoughts. It doesn't matter how well you performed in whatever task it was. A lot of people will get anxiety and those bad thoughts start to roll into your mind of the things you should have done, the things you didn't do a great job of. Then that self-doubt comes into it. Can you do it? Can you perform it the way you want to? What are people thinking about you? What are people saying about me? And I think that's what rolled through my head all the time. It didn't matter if you did play well. It's just, hey, these are all the things I did bad. This is what everyone's thinking about me. This is what other people are thinking about me. And it really changes like your outlook on yourself, which is just not the way to live.
Right. Yeah, dude. I think we all deal with that. Like, I know I deal with that as well. Like, you can, you can be riding a high, right? And when life's going well, you're, like you said, you're confident, right? You're ready to take on anything. You're playing to the best that you can. And then once you start to, once life happens and you have the other side of the wave, then you start to experience, like you said, anxiety, right? And self-doubt, and those things start to compound. And I think that's the brutal part about mental health, right? And as I'm sure and what you're doing in a situation is keeping a lot of this in, right? And internalizing it and thinking I'm Max Duggan, I'm the quarterback, like I can't be hurt, right? I shouldn't be having these anxious thoughts. I shouldn't be having these self-doubt, when in reality, like, it's just part of being human.
Yeah, and I think that starts from a lot of kids and a lot of boys, like at a young age of this is how a man's supposed to be, of don't share your emotions and be strong. And if you're sharing your emotions, that's looked upon as weak. And I think we're getting to that point where more and more people are starting to understand that it's stronger to talk about your feelings. Everyone's going through something. Doesn't matter how happy, how they look, or the things that they're going through. Everyone's going through something. I think people are starting to understand it takes strength to talk about these things that they're going through. It helps to talk about things that they're going through, problems that they have in their life. And I think, it kind of started at a young age of boys were just, hey, be tough, keep it in, don't let people know your emotions. And it's a hump to get over, but I think people are starting to.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, and it'll be the stigma is starting to go away, but we're just getting started, and it takes conversations like these and one person at a time for us to truly change the way that the mental health is viewed and talked about. When did you start becoming comfortable, like sharing the things you were kind of going through in that that rut in that dark moment?
Throughout college, I mean, my first 3 years, I kept a lot in. And then I think until probably almost a year and a half ago was when I kind of really opened up and talked about the things that was going on, and was open about it. It helped me feel better of getting to talk to, the people that I love that are around me, and talk about these situations. Makes you just feel like you're getting something off your chest, off your back. And I think when you hear people that you love support you in the problems that you're having, the issues you're having, it helps a lot. And I think probably a year and a half ago is when I started to have those conversations.
Absolutely. Who did you have those conversations with? Was it like family members or teammates or?
A lot of it was with my parents. My parents were both athletes. They're people that I care about, really close with, and have a lot of, deep conversations with. And I think, they'd been through similar situations. And I think that helped me a lot. And then I think the great thing about the people I was with at school, were my boys on the team. I mean, guys that went through it, similar guys that could relate to you, that you could be open with. And I think that was the best. I mean, everybody knows, like, if you got a good group of guys and your boys that you can really dig deep and talk about tough issues, I mean, it helps a lot.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think that's so important, is finding people not only that you can trust, but that you can relate to, right? And who have been in your shoes, because you can go. It's helpful to have conversations and to be vulnerable, unless someone understands and can really, and that you're not alone in that fight and in that battle. Like that makes all the difference, man. And I mean, it's given me a bunch of courage, right, with dealing with my own mental health, right, having similar conversations with people that I trust. And sometimes it's hard to find those people who can relate to you, and not everyone can relate to your specific circumstance, but having those conversations and talking to people who don't judge you, right, and who understand where you are and this is how they got through it, right? Talking reality into you, because I think, like, when you're in your head and you're listening to all these negative thoughts and you're allowing the negative emotions to kind of run your life, then that's not actually reality, right? You're listening to the lies in your head. And so for someone from the outside to look at you and tell you the truth, like, hey, like, you are Max, right? And you are a phenomenal person and a great football player, and you might not believe it, but having someone from the outside who you love and you trust tell you those things, I think can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the love and connection that you have from somebody, and the trust, and I think for them to say something to your loved one, I think really kind of resets you and acknowledge it is really important.
Absolutely. So after the 2021 season, coming off an injury, life wasn't done, right? Still throwing punches. You lose your starting spot. Kind of walk me through what that looked like, and kind of the thoughts that were going through your head and that whole situation.
Yeah, that was tough. Obviously the first 3 years I'd been the starter and we weren't very good, and so I felt really responsible for that. Obviously, as the quarterback, so we're not very good. Coach Patterson is not our coach anymore, felt responsible for all that just because you're as good as how your quarterback plays. So when we brought in Coach Sykes and new staff and I lose the starting position, there's just a lot of like, can I do this? Is this really for me? Can I play at the level that I want to? Is it worth it? Things of that sort. So again, just a lot of the negative thoughts I think start rolling in, and I've kind of been bad about that my whole life of thinking negative, and I've learned and tried to fix it. And I have done better of talking to people and creating those positive thoughts or neutral thoughts. But I mean, yeah, it was a tough situation in that moment. But I think, again, putting that behind me of how I was feeling, and again, talking about like serving leadership, being there for the guys. I decided not to transfer. I wanted to be there at TCU and help Chandler, who was the new starter, help the guys that had been there, be a part of that group. My best friends were on the team, part of TCU when we were winning. So that was kind of that leadership style, just in that moment of being there for those guys rather than feeling sorry for myself. So
yeah, man, absolutely. And so obviously Chandler goes down, gets injured, and you just kind of pick up right where you left off, kind of with this what it looked like a new chip on your shoulder, if you will. Like you were just, you saw the switch in you, right? You were stepping up, you were making very confident throws. What allowed you to be ready for that moment, to go back and to just kind of pick up where you left off?
I think was the mental side of just always being ready, of being there, being engaged in what was happening, of not letting something bad happen like this really drain me. I think acknowledging it and talking about what was happening, that I was disappointed in myself, but I still think being engaged in what was going on with the season and how things were going to go allowed for me to be able to come in and I didn't want to make it look like there was a backup in. So I want to do whatever I could to help the team win. And obviously we were surrounded by a lot of great players and great coaching staff that put us in spots to be successful. But I think mentally being engaged where we were and where I was really important.
Absolutely. You talk about the negative thoughts, and like for myself, man, I'm the same way, right? Like when as we talked about earlier, like when things are going well, like it's not hard to be positive, right? And to think highly of yourself when things are going well. And then when things aren't going well, it's also not hard to go the opposite way, which can just spiral into a whole bunch of different issues. And you said that you're working on kind of combating those negative thoughts about yourself. What are some ways that you're doing that?
So something I learned was the thought of the neutral mindset. So of not thinking negatively, not thinking positively, but thinking neutral, of be where your 2 feet are at. And I think that really happened. So whatever situation it was, whether it was a bad situation, good situation, but of acknowledging this is what's the situation going on. This is what we need to do to combat it. This is what we need to move forward. This is what we do to continue this performance, or, whatever it was in that environment. And I think that really helped me, because it helped me understand that these are the facts. This is where I'm at. This is where I need to move forward. This is where I need to forget about the past. But positive thoughts, I learned that it was sometimes almost trying to tell yourself a lie, and then negative thoughts were just spiraling you down the wrong path of more negative thoughts are going to lead to just more negative thoughts. So the neutral mindset really helped me be where I'm at and help me kind of get through some of those stuff.
Mm-hmm. Did you adopt that neutral mindset your senior year?
Yeah, that was before my senior year, just talking to some guys that there's a book about it. I haven't read the book though, but I've talked to a lot of guys that have been through it and done podcast speeches. I've been there in small rooms with professional athletes, guys in service, and they talk about it. So
absolutely. Yeah. I think that's so important, right? That's something I need to work on too, is like not, because when it's positive, like you said, like you're allowing your emotions to decide your actions, right? And decide how you perform when that can't be the case because life is so much up and down, and definitely learning that lesson now. Dude, I'm interested to know, obviously you have this this neutral mindset that they've taken on, but going through the heart surgery, through playing on a broken foot, losing your starting role, having all this pressure, how do you keep getting up, right? Like what is your mindset through overcoming challenging obstacles?
I think a lot of it depends on, and I kind of learned this without really understanding what I was doing the last 3 months, but talking to someone that was close to me about like, what's your purpose in life? Like, what's your why? And, my why was always, the people that I wanted to make proud. My parents, people back home, people at TCU that are in my life, my girlfriend, my friends. Those are the people that I want to make proud. And they believed in me. They've supported me. So I think proving them right of why they believed in me. And I think the purpose of trying to inspire and encourage and give hope to people that are going through difficult challenges or events and understand that they can get through it. And I think if you understand those two things, it allows for you to get up through tough times because other people are watching you. You want to make other people proud. You want to inspire people, give them hope that if you can get through something difficult, so can they. And I think I learned this the last couple of months I was in California of talking to my guy Tommy 3 times a week about these situations. And I was doing it prior to that without really understanding what I was doing. But I think that really helped me get through these situations.
Absolutely. A question that I just thought of, and because we kind of talked about this before the podcast, right? Like we were at that Fuzzies. You probably weren't thinking that you were going to be drafted, right? You said you were looking at other jobs and just looking, if football didn't work out, what would be next for me? Have you ever had to wrestle with your identity, like who is Max? And are you still wrestling with that?
Yeah, that's something that I had a lot of great conversations when I was out in California for 3 months was that identity crisis. And I think that happens a lot with professional or just athletes in general. I mean, you go your entire life from age 5 till if you're able to play high school 18, if you're able to play college athletics 22, if you're able to have a 15-year NFL vet or career till you're 40. And it's like, what do you do now? Who are you? Your identity has always been surrounded by that sport. And I'm just using sports as an instance, but who are you really? Like who are you outside of the game? And I think that's what a lot of people, athletes are struggling with now. And I do as well. It's like off the field, who are you? And a lot of people are starting to get to the point where it's like it doesn't matter what happens on the field or your performance. Obviously, everyone's competitive and you're going to perform at the highest degree that you want to because, that's your job and that's what drives you. But when you're off the field of understanding that doesn't define you of the person you are, whether you play good, whether you play bad, things of that sort, that doesn't define you as a husband, a brother, a family member, a coworker, things of that sort. And that's what, I've luckily right now, still lucky to play this sport, but it is something important that you need to think about. And I think understanding your purpose and your why and your identity really helps with that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. You talked about one of your purposes or part of your purpose is giving people hope and giving people inspiration who are going through difficult things right now. What's one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's going through a difficult time? Because, a lot what we stand for at 38 Challenges are those mental battles, right? Not just physical, right? I think when you've experienced physical pain and physical balances versus the mental pain and mental struggles, it's a whole different ballgame. What's one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's in a dark spot right now?
I think understanding that self-belief. And I think it's, you're with yourself a lot. And I think it's just you're in your thoughts and your mindset a lot of time. When you lay your head down on a pillow at night, it's just you and your thoughts. And I think going through something is if there's belief, true belief in yourself that you can get through it, that you're tougher than what's going on, that you can get over this challenge. That's where it starts. And I think there's a lot more to it of people helping you, but I think it initially starts of just self-belief of if you can't believe in yourself, then how can someone else believe in you? And I think that starts from the start, from deep down of believing yourself that, you can do this.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that can be a hard thing to believe
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're in that dark spot, is believing in yourself. And then if you don't believe in yourself, then exactly, like if you can't help yourself, then no one else can help you too. And that
Yeah.
dude, it's a harsh reality, and it's a hard thing to overcome. And I think just taking small steps, right? Small, manageable steps, and setting goals, and increasing your self-worth again, and building trust and confidence within yourself is the first step. And I know from experience, man, like it's when you don't believe in yourself, then it's hard for other people to believe in you too. But I think one of the things that I realize is that people are always there for you, and they always love you, and people do believe in you, and they do love you. And so it's up to you to take that and to start taking steps, man, because there's always a next step to take. There's always things to move forward with, and you're a great example of that, and your character and your ability to overcome has been awesome to see, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. That's I think the great thing of having the people that are around you, like you said, that love you, that trust you, that want the best for you, that support you through anything. And sometimes it's not that people maybe only have one person like that. Other people may have a lot, and I think just finding those people, really staying connected with them, talking them through a lot of things is really helpful.
Absolutely. So apart from mindset, are there any other tools that you use for kind of dealing with your own mental health, or dealing with the pressure of being an athlete? I guess just some actionable tips for performers out there.
Something that I didn't understand in high school and my first couple years of college until even the last couple months, was just breathing techniques.
Mm-hmm.
I think that helped a lot of, whether it's after a workout, whether you feel a lot of anxiety in the moment. I think laying down wherever you're at, whether it's on the floor, on a couch, on the bed, I think closing your eyes and going through different breathing techniques where you really allow yourself and your mind, your body to calm down, be where you're at, understand your thoughts maybe spiraling at that time. And I think deep breaths, of holding it, different situations, different techniques really helps you kind of relax and calm down and be in the moment. And I thought something I started doing recently that has helped me.
Absolutely. What are some of those techniques that you use?
So whether it is, you're going to go lay down and you're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, and then you're going to breathe out for a long 7, and you're going to hold it at the bottom for 3, and then you're going to restart, and you could do that for 5 to 10 minutes. There's different ones where you go in increments of 4. So breathe in for 4, out for 4, hold it for 4, continue on. I think some of those where you really deep down and think about every little small detail that you're going through, and the breath, each breath that you're taking from deep down in your stomach all the way through. And I think there's just like a calming relaxation of your body, that there's kind of stress that is relief in that moment that lets you kind of calm down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, breathing techniques have been massive, and that box breathing you were talking about is something that I know works because I've done it before, but I don't use it nearly enough. So I thank you for reminding me to do that. Dude, I thank you so much for the conversation today, and just appreciate your friendship. Interested to know, obviously you've been preparing for the draft. How has that been going? And, what are some things that the people can look out for?
Yeah, it's been fun. It's a different experience, different type of job interview. Obviously, your resume in this situation is the tape that you have out there, and then you go through the interview process of all-star games, combine, pro day, individual meetings and workouts with teams of um, them talking to you things, critiquing you, telling you good things, understanding it. But um, yeah, it's gonna be fun going through it. Don't really know where you end up, but it's been a fun experience.
Yeah, dude, it'll be awesome to see where you end up. I know, you've defied the odds many times in your career, and I know that you're gonna go to the NFL and whatever team you're on, you're gonna make an awesome impact. It's just the person you are. It's the kind of leader you are. Last question for you, man. What does the 38 challenge mean to you?
I think it's so great to be involved in that. It's opening up the eyes and vision and conversation for mental health, that it's okay to talk about these things, that you're getting more people to support and understand. I think, you know, if you were in a room group of, or a room of people and you ask, who's gone through these situations, I don't think a lot of people would raise their hand. But knowing that, deep down they're going through those situations, and I think the 38 challenge is allowing for a safe place for people to come in and have these tough conversations and support a great cause. And I'm grateful that I've been able just to be a small part of this and help out. And I know a lot of other people are really excited to be a part of it and really help people out there just like us that are going through stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to our continued friendship and just to continue to root for you, man, and see, how we can continue to help people together. So I appreciate this, Max, a whole lot.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. It's always been a blast.
Awesome.